Have you ever had one of those moments where someone ruins your day? Just a few words. Think about it. You're at a family gathering. A relative makes a snide comment in front of everyone, then smiles like it's no big deal. Hours later, the party's over, everyone's relaxing at home. You're still awake thinking about it. What if you had responded? Why did they say that? You're angry over again. The thing is, they're sleeping peacefully. They've taken over your mind for the night. That's really dangerous. People think manipulation means controlling someone, but that's not it. The real trick is controlling emotions without touching you. It happens all the time in life. Some people poke at you just to see you react and feel powerful. Others drain your energy with complaining. Then there are those who create drama, spread rumors, or guilt-trip people wherever they go. If you react every time they get inside your head without you realizing it. That's why many people go through life feeling mentally exhausted, not because life's too hard, but because they've let too many people control their emotions. Endless talking, arguments, people invading your mind without permission. Machiavelli said something that's hard for most people to understand. Attention is power. Whoever controls your focus controls your mood. That's why calm people scare manipulators. They're not weak. There are no quick responses to every insult. No wasting energy on people who won't listen no matter what. Zero effort spent trying to fix toxic people. This video shows you how to protect your mind when everyone's trying to drain your energy. You'll see how manipulators take your focus, why your silence throws them off, and the simple trick to ignore the ones who feed off your reactions. If you value your attention, you become a fortress to shake, impossible to control, and a nightmare to wear down. Before we move forward, hit the comments with this: "My peace has value." Let's go. Chapter 1. The Currency of Power. When people hear the word power, they usually imagine obvious things: money, physical strength, fame, control over others. But real life teaches something different. The people who quietly shape everybody around them are often not the loudest people in the room. They're the people who understand value. More specifically, they understand where value should and should not be spent. A wise person treats attention the same way a careful man treats his last bottle of water in the desert. He does not pour it everywhere, because once your mental energy is gone, everything becomes harder. Simple conversations become irritating. Small problems feel bigger than they are. Your patience disappears. Your thinking becomes emotional instead of clear. And most people never connect the dots. They think exhaustion only comes from hard work. But many times, exhaustion comes from carrying too many unnecessary people inside your head. Look at everyday life. There are families where one person's mood controls the entire house. If that person wakes up angry, everybody becomes careful. The atmosphere changes immediately. People speak differently around them, children become quieter, even peaceful moments start feeling tense. Now ask yourself something. Why does one person have that much influence over everybody else emotionally? Because everyone around them has unconsciously handed over emotional authority. Their peace depends on that person's behavior. That is dangerous. A stable mind should not collapse every time another human being changes moods. But this happens constantly in social life. Some people become emotional prisoners without realizing it. One family member's opinion ruins their confidence. One harsh sentence changes their whole day. One disagreement follows them mentally for an entire week. And over time, this creates a fragile personality. A person who constantly absorbs emotional pressure from others slowly loses inner stability. You can see it in their face. Their mind always looks busy, always crowded, always carrying invisible weight. Meanwhile, there are other people who move through life differently, calmly, slowly, They don't rush emotionally. They don't absorb every atmosphere around them. And because of that, people often describe them as strong-minded. But strength of mind is rarely natural. Most of the time, it comes from learning what deserves emotional investment and what doesn't. That lesson changes everything. Because life becomes lighter when you stop treating every problem like a personal attack. Think about how much conflict exists simply because people cannot let things pass. A careless comment turns into a 3-day argument. A misunderstanding becomes family division for years. Now everybody wants the last word. Everybody wants victory. But nobody asks the important question, is this even worth my peace? Machiavelli understood something uncomfortable about human nature. Many conflicts continue, not because they matter, but because human ego hates feeling ignored. That's why people often react harder when they feel dismissed than when they feel insulted. A person can tolerate disagreement, but being emotionally unimportant to someone, that hurts pride deeply. And manipulative personalities know this very well. They know how to pull others into emotional traps without using force. Sometimes they do it through guilt, sometimes through criticism, sometimes through constant negativity, and sometimes through endless talking. Have you ever spent time with someone who drains you mentally, even though nothing dramatic happened? You leave the conversation feeling tired for no clear reason. That's because energy is affected by emotional atmosphere. Some people constantly bring heaviness into every interaction. Every topic becomes a complaint. Every discussion becomes stress. Every gathering becomes gossip about somebody else. And if you stay around this too long without protecting your mental space, you slowly become emotionally polluted yourself. That's another truth most people ignore. The mind adapts to whatever surrounds it repeatedly. If your environment is full of tension, your nervous system starts expecting tension. You become jumpy, defensive, irritated more easily. Even peaceful silence begins feeling unfamiliar. This is why protecting your attention is not just about avoiding bad people. It's about protecting your inner environment. Because eventually, your inner world shapes your outer life. A distracted mind makes poor decisions. An emotionally overcrowded mind struggles to think clearly. And clarity matters more than people realize. One calm decision can save years of regret. One emotional decision can create years of suffering. That's why disciplined people value mental silence. Not literal silence all the time. Mental silence, space inside the mind. The ability to sit peacefully without replaying 20 conversations at once. The ability to enjoy a moment without carrying emotional leftovers from yesterday. Most people have lost this ability. Even during quiet moments, their mind keeps fighting invisible battles. They argue with imaginary versions of people. They rehearse future conflicts. They relive old embarrassment. Their body is resting, but their mind never stops running. That's not peace. That's mental captivity. And sadly, society often rewards emotional impulsiveness. People praise dramatic reactions. Explosive personalities get attention. Loud people dominate rooms. Meanwhile, calm individuals are sometimes underestimated at first. But over time, emotionally disciplined people gain something louder personalities never fully achieve: respect that lasts. Because people eventually trust stable energy more than emotional chaos. Nobody feels safe around someone unpredictable. Nobody relaxes around a person whose mood changes every hour. But people naturally feel drawn toward emotional steadiness. It creates psychological safety. And this is where true influence begins, not through fear, but through control over yourself. A person who controls themselves becomes difficult to control externally. That's real power. And you can notice it immediately when someone has it. They listen more than they speak. They don't chase attention desperately. They don't interrupt constantly. They don't become emotionally loud just to feel seen. There's a quiet confidence in them, not arrogance, not coldness, just self-possession. Meanwhile, emotionally needy people constantly search for stimulation from others. Approval, validation, reaction, recognition. And because they depend so heavily on outside emotional responses, their peace becomes unstable. If people praise them, they feel high. If people criticize them, they collapse. Their emotional state always belongs to the crowd. That's an exhausting way to live, because the crowd changes constantly. Opinions change constantly. Human moods change constantly. So, if your emotional balance depends on external behavior, your life will always feel uncertain. This is why attention must be treated carefully. Where you place it matters. Who receives it matters. What consumes it matters. Because your attention slowly becomes your reality. If negativity consumes your focus daily, negativity starts shaping your personality. If drama fills your environment constantly, peace begins feeling strange. If emotional chaos becomes normal, stability starts feeling boring. And many people don't realize this transformation is happening until years pass. That's why wise people become selective. Not because they hate others, but because they understand access. Everybody should not have unlimited access to your emotions, your thoughts, or your mental space. Some people enter your life and improve your peace. Others enter and quietly destroy it. Learning the difference is one of the most important skills a person can develop, because life becomes much clearer once you stop giving emotional importance to everything around you. And when your attention finally belongs to you again, your mind becomes stronger, calmer, and far more difficult to shake. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My mind belongs to me. Chapter 2. Identifying the attention vampires. One of the most dangerous mistakes people make in life is believing that every person around them deserves equal emotional access. They don't. Some people bring calmness into your life. Others quietly drain your spirit, little by little, until you no longer recognize yourself. And the strange part is, emotional drain rarely looks dangerous at first. It usually looks normal. A conversation, a family gathering, a small interaction that leaves you mentally exhausted afterward. That's why attention vampires are difficult to notice in the beginning. They don't always attack directly. Many times they survive through emotional consumption. Your focus becomes their fuel. Your reactions become entertainment. Your patience becomes something they continuously feed on. And if you never learn to identify these personalities, you can spend years emotionally tired without understanding why. There are 3 common types you'll meet throughout life, and once you see them clearly, you stop giving them unlimited access to your mind. Number 1, the chaos provoker. This person feels alive when tension exists around them. Peace feels boring to them. Silence feels uncomfortable, so they constantly create emotional sparks everywhere they go. You'll notice them at family events first. Everything can be going smoothly, people laughing, eating, enjoying themselves. Then suddenly they say something sharp, a disrespectful joke, an unnecessary comparison, a comment designed to embarrass somebody publicly, and the moment the atmosphere changes, they become energized. Sometimes they even smile slightly while pretending they didn't mean anything by it. But deep down, they know exactly what they're doing. Chaos provokers study emotional weaknesses carefully. They pay attention to insecurities, sensitive topics, old wounds. Then they touch those areas casually whenever they want attention. And the worst thing you can do with this type of person is react emotionally every single time, because reaction rewards the behavior. Imagine a child discovering that pressing a button causes noise and movement. What happens next? They keep pressing it. Human beings are not very different emotionally. If somebody learns they can instantly disturb your peace, they will repeat the behavior whenever they feel bored, insecure, or powerless in their own life. That's why chaos provokers often become frustrated around emotionally disciplined people. Their usual tactics stop working. The tension they try to create simply dies in the air, and without emotional reactions feeding them, they lose influence. But many people fall into the trap because pride gets involved. They feel the need to defend themselves immediately, to win the moment, to prove strength publicly. Yet most unnecessary conflict survives because both sides keep feeding it attention. Without fuel, emotional fires die quickly. The chaos provoker understands this better than most people realize. That's why they constantly search for emotional fuel. Number 2, the energy sucker. This type is different, less aggressive, more draining. After spending time with them, you feel mentally heavy even if nothing dramatic happened. Every conversation becomes emotionally exhausting. Every topic becomes negative. They complain constantly, but never change anything. Life is always unfair to them. People are always against them. Problems follow them everywhere. And at first, compassionate people usually feel sympathy for this personality. They want to help. They listen patiently. They give advice. They offer emotional support over and over again. But eventually they notice something strange. Nothing improves. The same complaints return every week. The same stories repeat endlessly. The same emotional burden gets placed onto their shoulders again and again. Because some people do not want solutions, they want emotional dependence. There are individuals who build their identity around suffering so deeply that healing would remove the attention they receive from others. So, instead of fixing problems, they recycle pain endlessly. And if you are not careful, they slowly pull you into emotional exhaustion beside them. You begin carrying stress that never belonged to you. Your peace disappears because their emotional storms become part of your daily mental life. This doesn't mean compassion is weakness. It means boundaries are necessary. You cannot save people by drowning beside them. And one of the hardest lessons in adulthood is realizing that some people will happily unload emotional weight onto you every day while doing absolutely nothing to improve their situation. That cycle can quietly consume years of your energy, especially if you are naturally patient or empathetic. Because kind-hearted people often feel guilty for protecting themselves. They think distance means cruelty, but protecting your peace is not cruelty, it's emotional survival. Number 3, the validation seeker. This type is extremely common, and society often encourages their behavior without realizing the damage it creates. Validation seekers constantly need emotional reassurance from others to feel important. Everything becomes performance. Every interaction becomes an attempt to gain attention, praise, sympathy, or recognition. If they tell a story, they exaggerate it. If somebody else receives attention, they quickly redirect focus back toward themselves. If another person shares pain, they somehow turn the conversation into their own struggle within minutes. And over time, being around them becomes exhausting because nothing feels genuine anymore. They are emotionally hungry all the time. You'll notice validation seekers, especially in social environments. They constantly interrupt, constantly seek approval, constantly fish for compliments indirectly. Even silence makes them uncomfortable because silence removes the spotlight. And if they feel ignored for too long, many of them create emotional scenes just to pull attention back toward themselves. The dangerous part is that validation seekers can quietly consume enormous amounts of time and mental energy. A simple conversation turns into an hour. A quick visit becomes emotionally draining. You leave feeling like your presence existed only to feed another person's ego. And sadly, many people stay trapped around personalities like this because they fear appearing rude. So they continue listening endlessly, continue reassuring endlessly, continue sacrificing emotional energy endlessly. Meanwhile, their own inner peace slowly disappears.